What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, January the 14th, and that means it is time for my News Radar. If there's one thing you should all know about me, it's that I like really weird phones. I like phones that fold, I like phones that roll, I like phones that expand, I like phones that do weird things in general. But this particular phone design we've actually seen a couple of times from Xiaomi and Samsung, and for the life of me, I don't understand why anyone would want this, but we're going to talk about it, and I want you guys to tell me what on earth you would possibly do with this kind of a design. This is from Let's Go Digital. Motorola is apparently working on a phone design wherein you would have a single screen that wraps all the way around the full body of this device. And I mean, okay, from a visual perspective, yeah, it's stunning, it's beautiful, but I can't for the life of me figure out why you would want this or what sort of capability this would enable, other than the fact that it's just going to get scratched up constantly because it's all screen and it can't be super durable like Victus glass because it has to curve around the edges. And of course, this is based on a series of patents. So Let's Go Mobile, like they like to do, they find a cool patent and they say, my God, let's make this in a 3D render and show everybody what it would look like. And it looks amazing. But again, why? I don't know why you would want this. Here's a cool looking person and they've got their phone and they put it in their pocket, which I suppose you could do with pretty much any phone. Interestingly enough, it does also reference that it will be compatible with a stylus, which, you know, cool, which you do see shown off here, what this would look like with a stylus here next to it. Although one thing you're not going to have is access to, like, I don't know, a good camera setup. I mean, look, you can see you've got a hole punch there in the front, and then I guess you could flip it around and take a picture of the world. But us Surface Duo users know that using a selfie camera to take pictures of the world is generally a pretty bad idea. And we do have further patents here, which really don't tell me much about why you would want this kind of thing, other than the fact that this Mark guy looks like a real character. Mark, if I get that kind of video call and it's Mark just losing his mind, I don't know that I'm going to answer that. They do talk about configure virtual buttons according to how the thing is oriented and so forth. The idea that, you know, obviously you don't have volume and power buttons anywhere, right? So in-display fingerprints going to be necessary to wake the thing. What about powering it off? What about volume? It's going to have to be done virtually. And I guess that's one cool thing is you can put your volume and power button wherever you want it. Maybe you could even put a shutter button over there, a quick, you know, launch whatever app you want, like a shortcut button, maybe. But all in all, other than looking really cool, I'm at a loss. Can you guys tell me why anyone would want to buy something like this or why you would want to build it? Now let's talk about a very different kind of phone. And when I say very different, I mean like light years away kind of different. I just posted a video the other day where I talked about phone features you guys wish hadn't died. And I think that this next phone kind of ticks a lot of these boxes while being a rather utilitarian and interesting device. We're talking right now about the PinePhone Pro. And I know that right now, if you looked at this thing, you're likely to say, Shane, this thing does not look very good at all. It's got a big chin, it's got a big forehead, it appears to be one camera on the back. What is this thing? Well, the PinePhone Pro is a proper smartphone that runs Linux on a mobile device. This thing is not running Android, it's not running iOS, it's running Linux, and it's open. You can install just about whatever you want on this thing because it's just effectively a handheld Linux computer. If we look here at their specs, we're looking at 128 gigs of storage, a hexa-core processor. Now, they're not saying in this exactly what it is, but we'll get into that if we can find it here in a moment. 4 gigs of LPDDR4 RAM, Gorilla Glass 4, 13 megapixel camera on that backside, and then several PinePhone accessories, which we will also talk about here in a moment. Now, as we play their little teaser video here, you get a quick look at what mobile Linux, I think this is based on Manjaro, what that actually does look like on a mobile phone. And honestly, I've kind of been a long fan of Linux. I've not run it in a lot of years, but I do kind of find this thing strangely intriguing. As we talk here about these specs, it is a Rock chip processor, so not a huge known name. You know, it's not a Snapdragon or anything like that, but You know, it is what it is. These rock chip things. This thing doesn't need to be all that powerful, but we do have some really, really interesting things going on here. So there are privacy switches, as it says here: modem, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, microphone, both cameras, and headphones. What does that mean? That means that while you're using this thing, you've seen people like Mark Zuckerberg and so forth in videos where they put a piece of tape over their webcam on their laptop, and you're like, why did he do that? Well, he's afraid of getting hacked. And he's afraid of them being able to be seen by someone who's hacked their computer. Well, on a smartphone, you know, look, we've got cameras all over these things, and you microphones and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you can be tracked and all sorts of things like that. Well, on the PinePhone Pro, you've got actual switches. You can take the back off and flip one of these switches, and it doesn't just like turn them off in software, it physically disables them. They are inaccessible to any sort of hacker or anything like that. That is, if you're a privacy-minded person, that's a pretty wild feature. How about the ability to plug this thing into a computer and just, you're running Linux. You're running Linux. So the idea of having Continuum or DeX, right? It's just a monitor for your Linux device. You just plug it in and it's Linux on your computer. How cool is that? Like, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. You've got a command line running there. This looks like Ubuntu. Look there in the back, because you can do kind of whatever you want to do with this thing. As it says here, the default OS is Manjaro Linux with KDE Plasma Mobile, but they expect to see it supported by most of the operating systems already available for the original PinePhone, of which there were many different flavors of Linux that were ported over to this thing. So like I said, this thing is not wildly overpowered, right? It's a 6-core rock chip processor, 2 big cores, 4 small cores. Pretty basic ARM Mali GPU, nothing crazy. 4 gigs of RAM. Again, nothing crazy going on here. It does have expandable memory, which is great to see. A 3,000 milliamp hour battery, but on something with that kind of low power needs, probably will be okay for battery. And you're looking at about $399. So it's not super expensive. And now we need to go to the actual store here, because there's some cool stuff here. Like, how about a full flipping keyboard that can attach to? You have those pogo pins that you might have saw there on the back. Well, look, you can attach this thing onto it, and now you've got a little Linux laptop. I love it. This looks super, super cool. You've got a wireless charging case for the back there for $10, right? Again, attach it to those pogo pins, and now you've got a little wireless charging induction coil. What about you? What about if you want a fingerprint scanner on there? Because I guess it doesn't have one. Well, you can add one to the back of the thing with a different case. There's all kinds of cool little things you can add to this PinePhone Pro. What a weird, strange device. I would honestly love to take a look at this thing. So I don't know, maybe I'll send them an email or something. Looks really, really cool, super duper nerdy, and I love it. So we spoke a lot about the upcoming Pixel Fold, right? This is the long rumored Pixel device that is going to compete with the Samsung Z Fold devices, a proper folding phone from Google. And then we found out, after we thought for a while this thing was coming really soon, that maybe it wasn't actually coming that soon at all. And now we have more news about it again. And this may be a little bit of a reach from some people. Maybe you should take this with not just a pinch of salt, but one of those whole salt shakers and throw that over your shoulder for good luck to see if this is actually going to be true. But it's interesting nonetheless. Let's look here at 9 to 5 Google, because they have a small reason to think that maybe, just maybe, the Pixel Fold will have a form factor similar to the the Oppo Find N, which is pictured here. And I freaking love the way the Oppo Find N looks. If I could get one, I would get one, but they're expensive and I am poor. But good night. I love that square form factor. I mean, I'm a Surface Duo person, obviously, and that is like a folding OLED Surface Duo type thing. Anyway, so let's keep moving. So basically, what are we looking at here? In the latest build of Android 12L, there is some stuff in there indicating maybe what this Pixel Fold might look like. So as we've established earlier, there were some code names used for this Pixel Fold. First was Passport, and then more recently they called it Pipit. Well, they've stumbled across an animation in Android 12L that shows about putting your SIM in and stuff like that. Just a little setup animation. But the animation references the code name Pipit. So let's scroll down and you'll see what I mean here. Here's a little animation of inserting a SIM into a device. And look, I'm not telling you any tales out of school here. That does not look like a normal phone. That looks strikingly similar to the Oppo Find N. You've got a bigger section here that looks like the side of a hinge, right? Look at the aspect ratio. Look at the wideness. What phone is that wide? Like, other than Duo, there aren't any. And then if you scroll down, there is a second animation which confirms exactly what we're talking about. This is clearly a folding device that they are showing. And the aspect ratio of this looks like that. It looks identical to that. Now, where I'm saying we got to take this with a pinch of salt is we can't really just extrapolate, okay, it's referencing Pipit in this animation, and the animation looks like this. We can't say, yeah, 100%, this is what Pixel Fold is going to look like. However, it's definitely pretty interesting, the fact that they're showing a folding device in this animation that looks like that. I will lose my mind if the Pixel Fold comes out and that is what this thing actually looks like. I will especially lose my mind if I ever get to become part of Team Pixel and I might get to review devices. But it doesn't seem like that might ever happen. But I'm going to keep trying. Maybe one day I'll get to review Pixel devices for you guys. My Pixel videos always do well, but whatever. The Pixel Fold, if it really does look like that, I guess I'll just have to go buy one myself because it looks absolutely amazing. The Oppo Find N looks absolutely amazing. So take that with Pixel software, Pixel Magic, Pixel camera. Oh my lord, could it steal me away from Surface Duo? I don't know, maybe. The ice caps will melt. Hell will freeze over. Crazy things will happen if that does indeed occur. Let me know what you think about this down there in their comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And let's close up this with something that's a really weird news story, but it just made me laugh. Maybe it shouldn't, but here it is. This is from PC Gamer. Let's just read this headline, then we'll go from there. LA cops get fired for ignoring a robbery so they could play Pokemon Go instead. A California court has ruled that the two officers of the LA Police Department who ignored a robbery in progress call so they can hunt down a Snorlax will instead be fired. Oh, man. That is like one of the greatest sentences I've ever read. So someone's being robbed. They call, oh, the police, I need help. And they're like, yeah, I gotta get you Snorlax. And of course, like, while this is happening, that's terrible. I mean, I should laugh, but it's hilarious. But, like, they're on record of doing this. The detective determined after several minutes of ignoring calls, the officers responded to a genuinely priority incident instead. The appearance of a Snorlax in Pokemon Go. They spent 20 minutes driving around LA talking about Pokemon and pursuing the Snorlax, during which time a Togetic also appeared. And after catching the Snorlax, they agreed to get the Togetic too. So they weren't done. And of course they were worried. They were worried about what people would think. Clearly, they said that guys are going to be so jealous after he finally made the capture. This is like one of the most insane things I've read in a long time. Again, it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time. Terrible, terrible thing to be doing. But I didn't want to pass it along because it made me laugh. And maybe it'll make you laugh. And they got fired. So all's well that ends well, I guess. Guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of News Radar. I will be doing a live stream tonight this time for sure, I promise, so we can talk about some stuff like that cool Norev leather case for Surface Duo 2 and to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So I'll see you tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time, so check your time zone to know when that's going to be. I will see you then, and until then, stay nerdy, my friends.